Hello, I'm the Grove Street Lodger, and you're in the same room that we started last time. A lot's happened in here, and I'll show you here. So, as you can see, we've got new walls. I had to scrape all of the wallpaper off. It took a very, very long time. And the carpet was all pulled up and cut up, and a new carpet's been put in, and a plasterer has wrapped the walls in the sort of pink gel mesh thing and then plastered it all. And currently this is the only room that's really livable, except my kitchen and bathroom. So this is it's kind of like being in a bed sit again at the moment. But hey, work's on its way. So yeah, I've been working very hard, 3-4 hours a day after work, and then 8 hours on Saturdays to get this ready, and it wasn't ready in time. And so not so much reading done this month. The main book I read was a book called Hubbub. I've been in a lot of Hubbub this particular month. It's all about the early modern period, so the 17th and 18th centuries, the period that primary school textbooks always cut out for some reason, and about annoyances, nuisances, noises, smells, things that irritate about them, and how people treated it and how people complained about it and what they did about it. It's by Emily Cockayne, and it started really, really fun with this, I don't normally wear my glasses for a video. It started with this description of all the terrible houses she's been in, and then her group of imperts, she called them. So experts are people who coldly know something. Imperts are people who know their own insides and how they feel and communicate that. And these included some very interesting people who I already have read, like Samuel Pepys and Ned Ward. She liked Ned Ward so much she named her son after him. And Jonas Hamway, which I found interesting, because Jonas Hamway is the person who Samuel Johnson got in a bit of a spat over when Jonas Hamway said he didn't like tea, and Samuel Johnson wrote in his review of the book where Jonas Hamway mentioned that tea was this evil thing that was corrupting people, how brilliant tea was and how he drinks it all the time. It was a really interesting book. There were some wonderful names. There was someone called Thomas Tosspot, and Eliza Micklechurch and all this kind of stuff. And there were lots of interesting little rules. For example, did you know you had to pave outside your own house originally and maintain it? And so a pavement was whatever the householder had got hold of. And so the pavements outside were all higgledy-piggledy. They also had to maintain their own lights. And the first guy who offered a lamp lighting service, so you wouldn't have to do this, he actually worked himself to death because he went around at night lighting all these bloody lamps. And then there was also stuff about pigs, a lot of stuff about pigs being in houses and in the streets, and a pigsty that was so large and terrible it brought the house prices down, and the airs of it, the vapours stained silver. And as I was in the hubbub of scraping 60 odd years of wallpaper off here and lots of plumbing issues, that was interesting. It was reflective, very, very reflective. The hubbub of my life and the hubbub of the book. The book's nominally arranged in sections. There's one called Noise and one called Grotty and all this, but they run into each other. It's also nominally about 4 particular towns. It's about Oxford, Manchester, London and Bath. But loads of other towns get mentioned. It's a little bit, not loose, but crammed. It's a huge crammed pot of interesting stuff, and it gets a bit much, and especially if you've done a day of scraping or pulling gunk out of a gutter or having water spurt all over you out of some radiators. It was a bit heavy. It was a bit bit too much for me, but it was the main book I read and I enjoyed it, and that was Emily Cockayne's Hubbub. This is the room designated spare bed library. As you can see, it's also been stripped and webbed and plastered. The plaster is newer. The plastering wasn't quite done the day the carpenters came. In the end, they could only carpet that one room, my bedroom, where I am. So this is all bare floorboards. I'm sitting on a bed, which will need to be put in there when we start painting and stuff. So this is a bit of a nothing room at the moment. And I'm going to talk about John Cooper Clarke, 10 years in an open neck shirt. I'm one of the generation who had him on their GCSE syllabus. He was in the love section. I actually preferred Andrew Marvell's To His Coy Mistress, because that's the kind of person I am and that's the kind of teenager I was. But I did kind of like it. It was all right. We went to sort of like a road show of a lot of the named poets from the syllabus, and we watched them. I remember, I think, Agard and maybe Benjamin Zephaniah, I can't remember now. But I remember John Cooper Clarke. He came on with big hair, super skinny, and he was just cool, and I liked him. So I got his CD, the best of CD, and listened to that. I used to enjoy that. So when I saw this book for £1 at the Waterstones, I thought, oh yeah, let's get that. And it's all the ones from the best of. It's all the older poems, Kung Fu International, Beasley Street, Evidently Chicken Town, Twat. And they're really fun to read. You read them in your head pretending to be John Cooper Clarke. If you're feeling brave, you read them out loud. Though with my accent, you don't pretend to be John Cooper Clarke. Some of them are different. I like the fact that Evidently Chicken Town uses as its repetitive punctuating phrase fucking. It's a lot better than bloody. And yeah, it's really good, though it's no patch on hearing him say it, either in recording or live. But I enjoyed it, and the picture's really good, and I've actually lent that one to someone, so there you go. So I took it to work, just something to read. I didn't have to concentrate longer than a little poem at a time on. So that was that. Living room probably doesn't look much different. In fact, it isn't that much different. I thought the carpenters would get in here, and I was sweeping it up when I noticed a big damp patch, despite the £6,000 of damp proofing I've had. And so I've asked them to come back and sort that out. So the book I'm going to talk about in here was The Boy Who Climbed Into the Moon. And it's by David Almond, and it is a short children's book about this boy called Mark, if I remember right. He thinks he's very boring. He lives in the basement of some flats, and then he decides one day to go to the top. And as he goes up, he meets more and more people with strange ideas, and then he develops his own strange ideas. And it's all about how being a quirky little widow is quite fun, actually, and quite good. I would know nothing about that, mind you. It's good fun. If your whimsy tolerance is set low, you might not get on with it. But if you don't mind a little bit of whimsy now and then, it's good fun, it's nice, it's short, it's very optimistic, and everyone has a nice tea party at the end. So yeah. This is the back room, the warm beating heart of the house. In theory, in fact, it's been my main problem room. I have scraped all of the concrete off. I've then scraped all of the tiles off. I've scraped all of the wallpaper off, and the radiator burst everywhere, and everything was soaking wet and covered in concrete. And if everything is dusty in the bottom, it's because of this room. And yeah, this is the one that's a bit of an effort, but it will be great, I'm sure, one day. Anyway, the book for here is, I can't remember. It's called The Phantom Lover. I do remember, it's called The Phantom Lover, and it's by, and this is where I've got to look it up, because I read it on an ebook, and the ebooks I read them on were by the Bailey's Women's Prize, and they were women who have written in male pseudonyms, being given their own name. So the male pseudonym was Vernon Lee, and the real name was, I wrote it in my little review, I'm so sorry, I should have prepared this. The real name, Violet Paget. So a Phantom Lover. It's about this portrait painter. He goes to paint a very boring man, and he presumes his very boring wife. But she's not boring. She's weird and interesting and a bit ghostly and strange, and she dresses up like she's in the 17th century. And she's obsessed with this 17th century heiress ancestor who murdered her lover with her husband, which is a bit of a weird way around. Normally they murder their husband with their lover. And all the way through you think she's going to be the weird one, she's going to be the weird one, she's going to be the weird one, and then her husband snaps and murders her because he starts seeing the ghost of the lover. Her sort of weirdness is just, it's just normal weirdness. His becomes murderous and strange, and it's It's delivered very humorously and wittily. It's not a scary story. This is a weird angle. It's not a scary story, but it is a fun one. And if you haven't had it spoiled like I just did, it's a bit surprising as well, because she is built up to be the thing that's going to be the problem. Or maybe in The Phantom, I thought she was a ghost. But no, she's the victim and he's the weirdo. Though it is suggested all along that he's going to be, because he has this thing called the crease. The crease is something that only real psychopaths have. I would describe the crease, but I can just show you. It's that. So there you go. Real psychopaths. Hopefully next month I'll have more books to talk about, and I'll have a more comfortable environment to talk about them in. Till then, have fun.